I made this film because I was really concerned about climate, and I realized that what the climate scientists were saying we needed to do in order to avoid a catastrophe was not really what the advocacy around environment and climate was really saying we should do, and policymakers were generally listening to those environmental advocates. Specifically, the advocacy was saying we could decarbonize at the rate and scale necessary without nuclear, just with renewables. And every study that I've seen that's credible says we need every technology possible, and nuclear has a very important role to play. And so if that's what the scientists were saying and that's not what was happening, that was very concerning for me, and I felt like I wanted to investigate that a little more and maybe tell the story of nuclear that maybe isn't very well known and that maybe could capture people's imagination in a different way. Message I want to send is that this problem is in the hands of the young people. This problem is in the hands of what we call the millennials generation, people in their late teens through early 30s. Those are the people that are going to solve climate in general. And so this film is really showing how young people want to approach climate and what kind of solution that they want to propose for it. And I think it's really exciting that they want to use the technology, they want to innovate, they want to do something that's very difficult to do, but that is essential for the prosperity of them and future generations of humanity throughout the world. I started making the film actually just because I was really interested and without any money. I have been making, doing work in directing all sorts of different things. I have a small video production company, so I have equipment, and I know how to operate all of that. I have a cameraman who I work with all the time. He has lots of equipment. And we went to lunch in January of 2015, and I sort of pitched him this idea, and he said, "Great, let's do it." And so I thought, well, great, we don't have any money though. And he said, well, you've got equipment, I got equipment, seems like a good idea, let's just go and start filming. And so actually, I met somebody who worked with, I was introduced to somebody who worked with Sfen, who just happened to be coming to the United States in early 2015. And, so we had lunch, and I told her about what I wanted to do. And, 2 months later, we came to France, and we were filming. We went up to Flamanville, we went to Le Hague, and, elsewhere. And, we did a whole bunch of other filming as well, but we didn't receive any money at all from anybody until late 2015, 9 months after we'd already started this project, and it's all come from private individuals. And we're still about $750,000 shy of the budget, the cost. So in other words, we didn't raise enough money to get paid for the project, so basically the only money that we've raised has paid for flying to France and staying in a hotel or renting equipment or hiring somebody to do something. And so it was really just sort of something where we thought this is really important and we can make this project, and hopefully it'll, enough people will be interested that we can sort of recoup our expenses later on. It's funny because there are films about nuclear energy, but mostly it's something like the China Syndrome or Silkwood, or more recently there's this one called Pandora that they were playing in Korea that really propelled this new administration in Korea into office, and now of course they're trying to close down South Korea's nuclear system because of that movie. And of course there's Pandora's Promise, which was probably the first pro-nuclear movie that there ever was, other than maybe Our Friend the Atom, which was a I don't know if you know that one, but it's an American cartoon from the 1950s or 60s that's kind of fun, but it's not really a feature film. So I hadn't heard about Pandora until fairly recently, but I feel like if that movie could make South Korea go anti-nuclear, maybe I can make a movie that has the opposite effect and in a much larger way. So that's my audacity. I haven't had very many screenings of it. I had a couple of private screenings for people that are in the movie, and so they love it. You know, if you see yourself in, I mean, unless I ruined it or something, you know, they're going to want to see it because it's just very validating for them. But that's what we call preaching to the choir. You know, they don't need to see this movie. They're already, you know, they already know all of this story and all of the lessons that you're going to basically learn. Really, it's for general audiences. So that the first time I played the film for just a mainstream general audience was actually a couple days ago, and it had the world premiere and the Heartland Film Festival in Indianapolis. And that was fascinating because the audience was like, well, how can we get involved? What can we do? Where do I go to school to learn nuclear engineering? What's a good university to go to school for that? And fortunately, I had one of our characters who was here at COP21, and we filmed with him, Eric Meyer, who is an activist, and he's also a fantastic singer, baritone. And so he started an organization called Generation Atomic, which is a nuclear advocacy group. He started that less than a year ago. And so he was there, and he had his people there, and so they were able to get in there and you know, give people, they have an app for your phone. So you can get the Generation Atomic app on the App Store or whatever it is. And you can become a member of this pro-nuclear grassroots community. This is not, you know, an industry-backed, well, it's not an industry group, it's a grassroots organization. And that felt really good for me, that it wasn't just that people came to see the movie and then, okay, well, what do I do? Oh, I guess I'll go watch another movie. That was interesting. Now I'll go to the next thing. No, you know, they were interested, and they were, you know, they were able to take it to the next step. Now they've seen the movie. Now let's get involved in real life. So in a way, this movie can kind of, you know, you don't see a new advanced reactor opening. Yeah, the opening ceremony for a reactor, of course, one of these advanced reactors. You won't see one for, you know, many years, well, several years, probably till the mid, you know, 2024, 2025. But, you know, that relies in part on the public, you know, on public opinion and what policymakers do. And policymakers listen to the public. And so, in a way, this film's kind of choose your own ending for the audience, you know, as a whole. So if enough people see the movie and enough people more broadly get involved and get interested in, you know, in this story and try to support it in whatever way they can, they're choosing the ending where you do have that opening ceremony of that new advanced reactor. And, you know, it's people like Eric and Generation Atomic they're the ones who are going to make that happen. We just sort of create the spark. We catalyze the whole thing with this movie. But it's their job to, and it's all of our job to talk about this with people and to, you know, and to change the way people think about nuclear energy, especially in this time of climate, impending climate disaster. Well, two things that I really realized about this was, first of all, when I thought about making this movie, I've never made a feature-length documentary before. I've been in the business for a long time, but a feature-length documentary was something that I hadn't done, and I hadn't really wanted to, because it's a real big commitment, and it's not a financial, I mean, I know firsthand it's not a good idea financially. You can ruin yourself financially getting into this type of thing because it's so expensive to do, and you know, it's very difficult to raise money. So and it's just, it takes so much dedication and commitment for a long period of time, and you know, getting gray hair from it, you know, a lot. has happened over the time I've been making this film. I learned that. But the reason I decided to do it anyway was because I felt something was really important, but at the same time, I didn't know anything about nuclear, the nuclear industry. So I thought, they're not going to let us. Like, nuclear's got to be very secret, and they're not going to let us do, you know, there's got to be secrets, and we're not going to be able to get access to things, and we're going to have a very difficult time. And, you know, what I learned is that everybody thought it was great in the nuclear business. Everybody was like, sure, come and film. That's great. You know, I mean, they want to get to know a little bit about you, and that you're not, you know, that you are what you say you are, and you're going to do what you say you're going to do. But that wasn't that difficult, really, you know, and, or didn't seem that difficult. And, you know, so that was one revelation, that it was actually the nuclear industry and the people that we approached were very eager to get this story out. They understood what we were trying to do. And I guess there's not that many people that are trying to get this message out. So people were really excited to be involved. So I had some brilliant people. I had, you know, I was amazed to get Jeffrey Sachs in the film. I've never seen a film with him in it before. I think I saw one, which was actually really terrible a few years ago, but he was only in it a little bit. But Jeff Sachs is kind of playing a pretty important role in this film, and he thanked me for doing this, and he actually had me play it for his Low Emission Solutions Conference, which was a conference that his Sustainable Development Solutions Network puts on during Climate Week, and their findings inform COP23 as to how do you, the engineering aspects, and not just saying we're going to decarbonize, but how do you do it? That's what Jeff Sachs' conference was, and this was the only movie that played there. So when he saw the movie, he said, this has to play at my conference. So I said, of course, that's great. If that can influence the COP, that's great. I got Jim Hansen in the movie. We've traveled to France with Jim Hansen. We traveled to China with Jim Hansen. He's a pretty hard guy to get to do anything, to even return an email. And it took a while, but he thinks it's really important. Bill Magwood is in this film, and he's, you know, the top guy at the Nuclear Energy Agency. He wanted to be in it. You know, so we really pretty well were able to get a lot of people, and that was surprising for me, honestly. And we're going to go to Cambridge for the international premiere of the film. I'm really excited to bring it to Cambridge, and we have some really great feedback. I've done a podcast already for that. I did an interview. They've got a big magazine article for it. And this is a mainstream film festival. Again, I mean, it's in Cambridge, so it's going to be a lot of, you know, a lot of faculty, a lot of students, postdocs, you know, a lot of brain power in there and really deep thinking, which is really exciting to me. But probably not, I mean, the nuclear people will be there, but it's going to be mostly just a mainstream audience. And we're going to also go, I'm excited, we're screening a French version of the film here, French subtitles. We've made a German subtitled version of the film that we're going to show in Zurich on Monday. So that's available. And wouldn't it be nice to show this film in Germany? You know, that would be pretty cool, I think. I don't know, we tried to get, funny story, some people were trying to get us to get a screening during COP23 in Bonn. And what I was told is that they called every movie theater in Bonn to try to rent the movie theater to play the movie. And when the movie theaters found out what the movie was about, they either didn't reply anymore, or they would say, no, we're not going to play some nuclear propaganda film.